Okay, it is dark now. I have no idea if I'll be able... You know what? I will do it for you. You know, this isn't so bad. Hello everybody, my name is Vero, this is Vero Reads, and today I will be sharing my 2025 reading goals. First things first, a major disclaimer. I am a huge book reader, so reading goals do not work as they should for me. My goals need to give me the illusion of freedom whilst still guiding me towards certain objectives. And that means that maybe calling them goals, it's a bit of a misnomer. These are mainly just reminders of what I've been meaning to read for a while, and they're very much suggestions of what I could be reading. And I'm not trying to achieve those goals and like tick them off. Well, except for one. There is one goal that I'm trying to pursue very, very actively, and it's something that if at the end of the year I have not managed to reach that goal, I will be sad. But everything else is just like, oh, we'll see what happens, I'll do it if I can. But then there's one goal that I'm like, no, I will put active effort and I want to do that. But I'll tell you all about it in a second. First, I want to start with the wishy-washy objectives, the easy peasy lemon squeezy objectives. Starting off, this is something that I've been meaning to do for such a long time, and so I just want to find a way to do it. And that's to read more books, or to read any book by Ursula K, LeGuin, James Baldwin, Octavia E, Butler, and Olga Tokarczuk. Because these are some authors that I've read one book by each of them, and I loved it so much that the same thing I do for books of, oh, I will stop reading it now because I'm enjoying it too much, I've started doing with these authors. So basically I'm like, oh, I cannot wait to read the next James Baldwin, but no, because he has a very limited catalog, so I don't want to read them all at once. And so I end up just not reading them. So this year, I want to actually make it a point to read books by these authors. But what does it mean, I want to read books by these authors, when I just said that these are very loosey-goosey, no worries if not type of goals? Am I gonna build some accountability systems like buddy reads or readathons or something around these authors? Am I doing some reward system? If I read one book by this author, I then get to buy another book by another author? No, absolutely not. Why? Because that doesn't work. It doesn't matter. I can give myself punishments if I don't read the book. I can give myself rewards if I do read the book. Nothing helps. If I'm not in the mood to read that specific book, I will not read that book. So what do? Do we give up? Of course not. What I'm actually gonna do is try to steer my reading towards these authors. This is literally just like me trying to gaslight myself using psychology techniques that are used for children, but all myself, hoping I don't notice. Basically what I do is I will buy some books by these authors and I'll put them on my physical TBR. I will put other books or even the same books by these authors on my virtual TBR. Whenever I'm out browsing, like at a charity shop or at the library, but I don't know what I want to get, I'll just try to default to, oh, let's see if there's something by Ursula K, LeGuin. Let's see if there's an Octavia E. Butler section at the library. And also, let's say somebody asks me what I want to read next, and I don't know, I never know. That's a very hard question to answer for me. I'll just say one of these names, a book by one of these authors. And even if it's not true, what I'm hoping for is to have a Pavlovian response to these books, so that whenever I think of reading, I think of these authors, and that means that I want to read those books. And that way, I'm hoping that I will end up, again, I will not schedule it, but I will end up reading at least one book by each of these authors by the end of 2025. This is an experiment. We'll see if it works. But that's the plan. I will keep you updated. I will let you know whenever I will read a book by one of these authors and which books. But that's the plan, trying to give myself a Pavlovian response, and we'll see if that works. Second goal, again, a very loosey-goosey goal. This is not even something that I will plan to finish or complete this year. This is the start of a lifelong journey, and that is to start tackling the catalog of a couple of publishing houses that I really like, or imprints that I really like. It's something that I started doing last year with Persephone Books. Persephone Books is a publishing house based in Bath that focuses on women heritage authors from the 19th and 20th century. I really love their aesthetic. I really love the shop that they have in Bath. It's incredibly lovely. At the time of recording, they have 151 books in their catalog. What I started doing last year is I buy 3 of their books. They are all numbered, like the first published book is number 1, the second is number 2, the third is number 3, and so on and so forth. So that's really convenient because I bought the first 3 books. I want to read those, and once I read those, I will buy 4, 5, 6. And so on and so forth. So that's kind of the gist of it. I want to end up reading all of their catalog. So the first one is Persephone Books. The second one is the Fitzcarraldo. Is that how you say it? Fitzcarraldo. Yeah. It's the Fitzcarraldo editions, especially the fiction editions that I have the very bright blue covers that I love. I love a minimalistic, every book looks the same cover, which at the moment I think has 81 titles out. And again, I don't know if I will be interested in all of these 81 books, but I will probably be interested in the majority of it. I read a few of their books already and I've loved them. I like Minor Detail was a Fitzcarraldo fiction book. Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of Your Dead was a Fitzcarraldo fiction book, and they have that kind of book, very literary, very important narratives. I just think that there is probably a lot of great books in that imprint that will probably stay with me for the rest of my life. So I want to start collecting them. It might take me 25 years, it might take me 5 years. The third and final one is the Penguin Little Book Classics. I love short classics. Those are one of my favorite type of books ever. I have a full-on physical book club that's called the Short Classics Book Club. Each month we read the short classics. It's been going on for a year now and I love it, and I look forward every month to look the next short classic because I just love them. I don't remember how many there are. I want to say around 100, hopefully. Yeah, I know that for that you can get the whole box set of them all at once, but I don't know. On one hand, it's really nice to have them as a box set. On the other hand, it's really nice to collect them one by one and just have them throughout your life, and you can recall when you found that book. Because also I usually get my books from charity shops, and there are quite a few of Little Penguin books, and it's really nice to attach memories and space-time coordinates to a certain book. I don't know, it's really hard. We'll see how it goes. But those are the 3 publishers / imprints that I want to start collecting. I want to have like pages on my reading journal where I write down each and every title, and then whenever I read something of that imprint, I cross it off. I really like the idea of having catalogs to update for these books. Why didn't I do this sooner? For real, why didn't I do this sooner? I've already filmed the second part of the video. My phone is probably like completely out of battery, but it was getting so dark and you couldn't see anything. And then I just remember that I have electricity in my house and I can just, turn on the lights. And now I'm gonna refilm the whole freaking second part of the video. So there we go. Once again, the third goal that I have, the third wishy-washy goal that I have is that I want to read more graphic novels, poetry, and plays. Can you guess how many combined of graphic novels, poetry collections, and plays I've read in 2024? Did you guess one? Because you would be wrong, because it's actually zero. I've read none. I've read not one of these three genres that I know I like, because every time I read a poetry collection, well, there are some poetry collections that I was like, all right, but I also don't know much about poetry, so maybe I'm wrong. But whenever I read a graphic novel, I really liked it. Whenever I read the poetry collections, like 90% of the time I like them. And plays, 90% of the times I like them. So why have I not read any of them? I mean, I know why. It's because they tend to be on the more expensive side when I have to buy them new, and I tend to not find them secondhand. So that's why. But I just wanna give myself an active reminder in 2025 of just get them and read them. You like them, do it. Because, for example, for the past 6 months, there's 3 graphic novels that I wanted to read. Magic Fish, which I cannot find anywhere except new, which I'm gonna buy new. Same thing with Lunar Boy. And another one that I'll write here if I remember the name. So I just need to buy the bullet and buy these things, because I've been meaning to read these 3 graphic novels for literally 6 months. So I will buy those books and I will read more of these 3 genres. And if you have any recommendation, especially for poetry collections and plays, please leave them down below, because another reason why I haven't read much of those 2 genres specifically is because I'm not familiar with the genre. I don't know which are the nicest poetry collections, or I don't know which are the latest plays that everybody's raving about, or even the classics of the genre. So if you have any recommendations and you're like, I feel like everybody should be reading this playwright, please leave it down below so I will check it out, and I will hopefully manage to read at least one for 2025. We've come to the last goal. This is my actual one major goal of the year, the one that I want to cross off, I want to achieve, I want to put effort in it, and it's really important to me. And that is to have at least 50% of the books I will be reading in 2025 be written by authors of color. Last year in 2024, 30% of the books I've read were by authors of color, and that means that 70% of my reading was by white authors, which, when you do the math, it's crazy, because white people globally are the minority, and it feels very constricting and very limiting. And so I'm a bit mad at the publishing industry, because I blame it, like 50% of the blame, I want to say 70% of the blame is to the publishing industry. The rest is me, of course, but 70% of the blame I put on the shoulders of the publishing industry, because why do I always get shoved in my face the first random mediocre book by a random mediocre white author, and I never see what would end up being the most brilliant books by the most brilliant authors of color of the last, century. And I always get the sad girl white literature, and I never get the, black excellence and the indigenous revolutionary books and the funniest South Asian books that I've ever read in my whole life. Why? Sorry. I've been filming, I want to say, for a whole hour straight because of the light. So, yes. Okay, so the publishing industry sucks. I still have a lot of agency in this. So I'm gonna put that agency in action, and I have a series of things I want to do to make sure that my reading is more diverse. I need to be more proactive in how I want to be marketed at when it comes to books. And, you know, in general, it's always a good thing to be mindful of what you're being marketed. Like, you have some agency in that. And it's really good to not have a mindless consumption, but, you know, you're gonna consume anyway. Might as well choose what you get sold, you know? First thing I wanna do is train all my algorithms on BookTube, Instagram, even Storygraph, anything on social media. I want to train my algorithms so they'll show me more content by BIPOC authors and content creators. So that means that I need to make it a point not only to follow and watch non-white creators, but also I need to engage with their content. So it's really important not only that I mindlessly scroll and I mindlessly watch, but like stuff, bookmark stuff, leave comments, all of that I need to be more active and proactive with, so the algorithms get all excited and they start showing me more of that content. Second thing, I want to be more, you know, whenever you're in that mindset of, oh, I want something new, I want a new book, I want to buy a new book, I want to find a new book, I want a hidden gem, I want what everybody's talking about, I want something new. I need to make it a point when I'm browsing at the library, in a bookshop, on Book Talks, on Storygraph, seeing the recommended section. I need to make it a point to realize whether everything that I'm seeing is by white authors and where the non-white authors are hidden. The issue is not that, you know, thankfully here in the UK, they've not started burning books yet, but typical British fashion, they're just hiding them and putting the white authors up front. So that's what's happening. I just need to be noticing whether I'm only seeing white authors or not. And if I'm not, if it's a very diverse shelf I'm looking at, I can feel happy. But if it's not diverse, then I can be angry and go looking for what I actually want to be reading. Lastly, I want to start talking more about diverse books and diverse authors. I don't like the idea that whenever I'm talking about books with anybody, I've noticed that what happens is that at my fingertips, like what comes out first and naturally, is mainly white authors. And, you know, it's understandable because of how I've been brought up in a Western white supremacist culture where, you know, white is the norm. But I've read so many great books and authors of color that I cannot be defaulting just to white people because it's easy, because it's just in my background, you know. So I want to be more mindful of which books I tend to recommend to or talk about with people, and just ask myself, is it always rich old white dudes? Maybe not, but can I say for certain that my points of references are diverse, not just because of gender and class, but also in terms of ethnicity and cultural background? Like, are all the books I reference written by Americans or British authors? Like, that's another thing that I need to take into account, you know? I just want to be more self-aware. I want to break the conditioning. I want to have some intentionality, living my values, all that. I know it might sound like a big effort to some people for something that's supposed to be a fun and enjoyable hobby, but I don't know, to me, it makes everything more exciting, enriching, fun. It might be the autism, but I get so much satisfaction whenever I'm actively trying to actively hack my Western cultural programming, whenever I'm realizing there's a pattern, choosing consciously if I want to follow that pattern, and then diverging from it if I don't like it. Like, that brings me so much joy. To me, that's something that makes my reading habits better and more satisfying and more fulfilling. So that's why I really want to prioritize this as an actual goal, an actual something that I want to work towards. But that's it. We've reached the end of this video. I literally, how much is it? How many? I don't know. Yeah, I've been filming for 1 hour and 5 minutes. because of the light. The light changed and I struggled, but I did it. These are my 2025 reading goals. As I said, apart from trying to read at least 50% authors of color in 2025, the others are just things I want to keep in mind, things that I think will improve my reading enjoyment. Let me know in the comments if you have any reading goals that you're excited about, but also especially if you have any recommendations for graphic novels, poetry, plays, especially written by non-white authors, because, you know, we're combining goals this year. And also, I'm really interested, just side note, I'm really interested to see how people relate to reading goals. I've been watching a few videos that talk about reading goals, and people have a different relationship to setting challenges and to shape their reading year through the act of putting on goals. Do you like having something to work towards and that kind of structures your reading year? Is it something that you find really intimidating? Is it something that, you know, you set yourself in January knowing that by March you will have forgotten all about it? Is it something that's just fun, something that's daunting? Just let me know. I usually really don't like goals, but I like what I did this year, where it's more just having a conversation with myself and just sitting down and being like, what do you want to do this year? more that I really like doing that, instead of arbitrary goals of, oh, I want to read a set number, I want to read a set amount of books in certain genres. I like the wishy-washiness of it all. Thank you for coming with me on this roller coaster of a video. If it looks very polished and put together in post, that's a lie. That's the magic of editing, because filming this was a challenge in and of itself. But thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.